Where were you born?
Greenville, South Carolina.
How many people were in your household?
It was 10 of us. Mother, father, 3 sisters, 4 brothers, and myself.
What did you do as a child for fun?
Play games, baseball, basketball, play cards. That's about it.
As a child, were there any African Americans that you looked up to?
Quite a few. Jackie Robinson, Arthur Ashe, my father.
When did you start working?
Oh, about the age 4 or 5. I had chores, if it wasn't new enough, of bringing wood in the house or sweeping or whatever, but you always had something to do.
How long did you usually work?
Probably, at that age, probably maybe a half an hour, somewhere around that time.
How did you feel about being drafted?
Well, at that age, it wasn't that important because when you're 19 years old, you don't really know anything. You just probably excited saying you're going in the military, not knowing, but you just didn't want to go to Vietnam, basically.
Was there a racial divide in the service?
Yes, it was camouflage, but it was still there. You know, the longer you stayed around, the more you could see how it was there. It didn't really come out until after I got out of basic training, basically, with promotions and stuff like that. But it was always there.
What places did you go to in the service?
I was stationed at Fort Jackson, South Carolina for basic training. I went to Fort Carson, Colorado for AIT. And from there, I went to Korea. I stayed there for 13 and a half months. When I left there, I went to Fort Hood, Texas. That's where I ETS'd at in 1968.
After coming home from the service, did you have trouble being comfortable?
Not really. I was basically happy because I was like free, you know what I mean? Because being in the military, you gotta go yes, no, this, that. You had a whole lot of, well, it's not a whole lot of stress. Some people consider it stress, but being able to say, well, I'm going to get up late, sleep late. It's a big difference from being up 5 o'clock every morning and having a bedtime check, bed check, and all that stuff. But it was more comfortable.
Did you have trouble finding a job after coming home from the service?
No, work was plentiful. In from I'll say the mid 60s, you could find a job. Maybe not the kind of job that you want, not the career type job, but there were a whole lot of jobs available because the industrial field was booming at the time.
Why did you move to Philadelphia?
Because of work and a better way of living. At least I thought it was anyway. And because I had 4 brothers here, so that was one reason why I wanted to leave South Carolina.
Did you see a change in culture between South Carolina and Philadelphia?
Yes. I mean, in the workforce and being able to get a job.
How did racism in the 60s affect you?
Well, as a child, you don't know. You only go by what you see and what you're taught, but it was it affected me through my parents more so than it affected me, because whatever they said, we had to do. It wasn't that we could say, well, we're not going to do this because they don't want us to do it. But that was basically why we, but like I said, it never affected me until I got in the job force. After you get in the job force and you see maybe a favoritism of this guy, favoritism of that guy, and you, that's when you started seeing it. Like going to school, if I'm only going to school with basically all blacks, it's no, you don't see the prejudice or the favoritism or whatever, because we all were in the same type of environment,
As a child, were there any sicknesses that you had?
Well, my senior year in high school, I had spinal meningitis, and it kept me out of school for 2 weeks. But during that time, I went into I think it was like a 5-bed hospital, all black. I had spinal meningitis, and they were, I think was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like 3 or 4 guys that was in the military at Fort Jackson, because it was almost like a little epidemic that died from the same disease I had. But I went into like I said, a little small black hospital, and it was 2 black doctors, and I pulled through it.
What does spinal meningitis do to your body?
Well, it's like a cold on the brain, and well, at least this is what they explained it to me. It's like a cold on your brain, and it destroys your spinal cord. And if you don't get some relief from it, it'll snap your spinal cord. Because when before I came out of the hospital, I had to do these exercises, like doing this. It took me about 3 weeks before I could make my chin touch my chest. And after that, I guess I was okay. But like I said, that's a horrible way to feel.
In Korea, what did you do?
Well, I was in engineers. We built pontoon bridges across the rivers, and well, like I said, we did that most of the time. That when we went out on the field, but most of the time when we came in, we would do the maintenance on them, and then we would, to make sure when we built them, we could take the transportation across on the float bridge. That's what they called it, float bridge. But with the pontoons and stuff, we had to put air in them, and they stayed above the water, and you could take all of the vehicles across on them. And that was like doing the war. That was for, convenience for the military. But when they got done, it wasn't a bridge that was going to be left. They would take it down. That way the enemy couldn't come across behind them. Because during the Korean War, they didn't have a whole lot of bridges like they have now, or they were afraid that they would get blown out or whatever. Yeah.
How was communication with the Koreans?
Well, it was somewhat good. The ones that could understand, you could communicate with it, because most of them, if they went to school, but the majority of them could speak English. At least they understood English. You would run into a couple of them, they would say, well, they don't understand, whatever. But that was basically because they didn't want to do the work or whatever, So they would use moolah, that meant I don't know, I don't understand, whatever, So, but basically, you got along with most of them.